One of the most important uses of musical intervals is to build scales. A scale is a series of musical notes that follow a specific pattern of intervals, that is, a specific distance between the notes that make up the scale. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Andres, and as the video title says, today we're going to be taking a look at scales. This is the third video on the music theory series. If you haven't watched the other videos, you can do so clicking here. Please remember that this series is focused on the theory part. In the future, I will be posting videos where we focus on the applied part of the theory. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. To explain this concept, we're going to analyze a scale that most of you might be familiar with, the C major scale. That's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C again. These notes follow a specific interval pattern, and this defines the scale as such. Let's see. Between C and D, we have a whole step. Between D and E, we have a whole step again. Between E and F, we have a half step. Between F and G, we have a whole step. Between G and A, a whole step. Between A and B, a whole step. And between B and C, a half step. We can see that the following pattern is formed. We have whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. These jumps correspond to the following intervals relative to the note C. C would be our tonic, then we have a major second, a major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and the octave or tonic again. This order of intervals or jumps is what defines a major scale. It is the essence of the scale as such. It doesn't matter which note we choose as the starting point, if we keep this distance between the notes, we will get a major scale. The first note of the scale is known as the tonic or the root, and it's the note that gives the scale its name. Let's take a look at another example, the G major scale. We start in G, we move a whole step, then we have an A. We move another whole step, we have a B. Then, according to the pattern, we need a half step now, therefore a C. Now we jump a whole step from C to D, then a whole step from D to E, followed by another whole step from E to F sharp, and finally a half step from F sharp to G, bringing us back to the starting note, one octave up. The major scale is known to have a cheerful, happy sound. We remember it from classic songs like The Ode to Joy and Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but we also find it in a lot of pop music and multiple genres. The major scale is one of the most used and relevant scales in Western music, and many of the future concepts we'll be learning in this series will use the major scale as a reference point. But major scales are not the only scales out there. There are many different types of scales, some with 7 notes or less and others with more, each with its own specific pattern of intervals. For now, we will stay focused on the most used ones, the major and the minor scale. The minor scale, unlike the major, has more of a sad sound. We can find many songs that use the minor scale in genres such as rock, metal, blues, and multiple ballads. Let's look at the pattern that defines the minor scale. We have a whole step, then a half step, then 2 whole steps, 1 half step, and then 3 whole steps. These jumps would give us the following intervals. We would have our root or tonic, our starting point, then a major second, minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, minor sixth, minor seventh, and the octave, or the root or tonic again. Let's look at an example using the A minor scale. We start on the A, of course, and then we have 1 whole step and get to AB. Then a half step, we have a C, then 1 whole step and we have a D. 1 more whole step and we have E, 1 half step and we have F, 1 whole step and we have G, and finally a whole step and we have A again. The A minor scale would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. Just like with the major scale, it does not matter what our starting note is. If the intervals between the notes correspond to those of a minor scale, the scale will be minor. I don't know how many of you noticed that the notes of the A minor scale are exactly the same as the C major scale. Well, this is not a coincidence. The A minor scale is what is known as the relative minor scale of C major. all major scales have a relative minor and vice versa. And this is very easy to find. It would be the scale that we get if we start on the 6th note of the major scale. If we look at both scale patterns and extend them infinitely, we can see that if we start the major scale on the 6th note, in this case A, and follow the pattern of the major scale from that starting point, we get the pattern of the minor scale. In the image, you can see more clearly what I mean. It is very important that we remember that although they are relative scales, they have different functions and convey different feelings to the listener. Let's listen to the difference between a major scale and its relative minor. Even though both scales are made up of the same notes, the change in the starting point results in a new scale with quite a different feel. As you might have already thought, we can build both a major scale that begins on C and a minor scale that also begins on C. These two scales are known as parallel scales. They both share the same starting point but have a different interval distribution. This applies to any major scale and its minor equivalent. Let's listen to the following example. They sound quite different, don't they? A quick way to figure out a minor scale from a major is to simply diminish the 3rd, 6th, and 7th notes of the major scale. That means diminishing or lowering those notes by a half step. And that's it. We have the parallel scale. Remember, we have the same starting point, but a different distribution of intervals. We can do the opposite to find the major scale from a minor scale. An important aspect to mention is the way we write a scale. We always try to write it in such a way that no note is repeated and that we have all the notes. And what do I mean by that? That on a scale, there should not be a C and a C sharp, but a C and a D flat. That way I'm not repeating the letter C. For that, we use either sharps or flats, but not both at the same time. Of course, there are exceptions. Some scales, due to their interval distribution, skip a note entirely, but we will leave that for future videos. The idea of writing scales this way is to allow for an easier way of reading. You then know that all the notes are going to be there and you're not going to have double notes or different alterations like sharps and flats in the same scale, but only sharps or only flats. It just makes it easier to read. Now that we've learned about major and minor scales, we are going to use them to build chords, and that will be the subject of the next video in this series. If you liked this video, don't forget to like it and share it, and if you liked it a lot and want to support my work here on the channel, you can do so using the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.